This is a Hot Pie Media original.
Hi, we're recording.
Yes, we are.
Yes, and I love you.
I love you too.
Wow. Well, it feels good for me to be in a much better place. And I guess the intro for this episode, though, is when I wasn't. Well, for Overcome with Justin Wren. Welcome everybody that's listening.
You've just been out of the groove for
I've been out of the groove for a little bit. Welcome to Overcome with Justin Wren. This episode is going to be a roller coaster, but a good one. It is days or a day before I went to treatment. Isn't that right?
It was the day you went.
It was the day
We recorded this conversation the day you left for treatment, which was, I think, November 17th?
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Wednesday. And we aired this on my show, The Amy Edwards Show.
Yeah. And people, please go check out Amy's show.
But we're going to air the conversation right here. I did do an intro that was separate and talked more about what I was going through.
Yeah.
And then I did a solo cast after this that addressed how I was feeling and coming back to myself after all of this.
Yeah. So when I say I went to treatment, for people that don't know that word, I went to a rehab, or I went to what they say now is a substance use disorder treatment facility.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed that. I really did. And you knew that. But I don't think a lot of the listeners did. And so this was our, I think, heartfelt conversation, but also hard conversation because...
Yeah, it's weird sitting right here looking at you and talking about this conversation that we had, because this is where we were sitting with a different background.
Right.
This is right where we were sitting talking in these very mics.
Yeah.
And I just sitting here felt the emotions that I was feeling that day, because I was so angry. And I wrote this in the show notes too and talked about it. The whole thing was kind of a blur for me because I was just so overcome with emotions. I just had so much anger and I was just so ready for you to go to rehab. I was actually beyond ready.
Yeah. Well, I was ready too, but also I felt really defeated. I mean, there might be moments in this conversation where people can hear that in my voice, that they can see that if they're watching it on YouTube. But it was hard. It was hard because one of the things I said coming out of the first treatment center I went to was I would never go back. And I thought I was saying it in an empowering way, like one and done. In fighting, we have a saying, the one hitter quitter. And that's why I went to a place I was kind of more scared straight style. That was very incredibly shame-based. That's okay.
Sorry.
That was her phone. It's not on silent, which is A-okay.
It is on silent.
It is? How did it ring?
But
It's crazy.
Can't figure that out.
But the thing that I really am grateful for, that people see in the next episode to come after this one, is that I went to a very love-filled place. And we'll get more into that in the next show. But man, did I need this place. And we got there. But I think in this episode, we really talk about, how hard it is, not just for the addict, but for the family of someone going through addiction.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of work while you were gone, which I think is very important if someone has a loved one going to treatment and is listening to you, trying to figure that out. You got to do the work on yourself. And I ended up studying a lot of codependency and going to some meetings for Al-Anon or CODA, which is Codependence Anonymous. And, I recognized a lot of patterns and codependent behaviors of my own. And while I was still really angry with you, I had to get to the bottom of things with myself. And so that was just a lot of work that I had to do, and just a lot of everything pushed out, and we get what we need for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I almost didn't air this episode of you and me talking because I was just so angry and had so many emotions, and I was just pissed at you for it being all about you, but anybody that's listening and understands that feeling of it all being all about the other person, there are ways to come back to yourself. I'm proof.
Yeah.
So.
I wonder if you remember, you told me why you were so angry. And it was all about me, but also there was something else at the root maybe, or the cause.
What's that?
Well, I mean, I don't think I'm putting words in your mouth, but it was because you really love me and you want this, you want this relationship.
Oh,
And
I said I just wanted it too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wanted it so bad.
And I had to really let go And that's part of the codependency thing. That's part of it. You hold on so tight and you can force reality to look the way you want it to look. Reality, you see what you want to see. And so I just had to back way off and be willing to let you go completely, which I did.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if we're going to stay together. I am going to do what's right for me. And I learned my own boundaries and was able to step really well into those, which I've never really done. And so that felt really good for me to start to understand.
Yeah. And I think that's really good for families to know, is that you have to maintain healthy boundaries and have them respected and draw lines in the sand. And I think it's important for people to know that like someone else's recovery isn't their responsibility.
Yeah.
Like it's not your responsibility to get me well. You helped get me there. But you, like you said, you had your work to do. And I had to take this on in my own hands. Like I had to be active in my own rescue.
Yes.
And if I wasn't going to be, then nothing else would matter.
That's right. One of the things I said, I shared this on my TikTok a while back, but it was just about codependency. And that I realized during this that it didn't matter how I looked. It didn't matter what I said. It didn't matter what I did. Nothing mattered. You were either going to choose it or not. It was completely on you.
Yeah.
And so many times we're like, oh, maybe if I just do this, or if I just say this, or if I just give him a place to sleep, tonight and trust that he's going to be better tomorrow, or whatever it is. No, none of it's going to fix it. That person has to decide.
Yeah. And
so you have to do what's right for you. And that's really hard to do a lot of the times. Now, one of the cool things I think that comes out of this conversation is it looks to me now in hindsight like the beginning of, extreme honesty between us.
Yeah.
And in our lives.
Yeah.
Which has been really cool. And I had a lot of people step up after listening to this and say, oh my gosh, thank you for being so honest when you're in this, because so many times people say it after the fact or whatever. And we were like in it in real time. And I had a lot of people reach out, people I knew, people I didn't know, and say, I have been through this and I have dealt with an alcoholic or an addict, and I kept it to myself and I kept it quiet. And that's one of the things we do with addiction is we make it sound better than it is. So was I going to come on my show and be like, oh yeah, he's in treatment, or maybe you cover that up, and you just say he's gone for a bit, or something, are you going to cover that up, or are you just going to be honest? Because at the end of the day, people are worried about themselves. Maybe they judge you for a minute, but who cares? Just let it go and be honest. And you and I have started an extreme honesty path between us.
Yes. And I think that is incredibly hope-filled for me, because like you said this morning, to me, you said, doesn't it feel good to be honest, like not hiding anything? And it's like, yes, that feels so good.
You're naturally inclined to do that.
Yeah, I am.
You love to share things with people.
I love to be honest. I love to share. And I think that probably is in human DNA. Like at the core of the human self, you want to be honest with people around you. And
there
maybe
could probably be an argument for either side.
Sure.
There could probably be like, no,
I
naturally we hide things and keep things to ourselves. I don't know.
Well, that's true, because you don't want to be exposed, and that hunter-gatherer mind, you want to protect, self-protection mode.
Protection
Absolutely.
mode. Exactly.
I think that in my addiction, I was dishonest, and not that I was fully honest all the time elsewhere, but I think that it was a self-protection thing, because I would be embarrassed if I was real with the listeners of the show, or even you, or
you
even
felt like you
myself.
had an image too to uphold, right? Fight for the forgotten, all of it.
I didn't want to disappoint people.
Right.
So how can I be honest? Sometimes people put me on an imaginary pedestal that I shouldn't be on, that I want to kick myself off of anyways. And it's a challenge to be honest and open and real. But what I love about that is that I've really started to see that through vulnerability, it's really strength. I know Brene Brown says that, but just being real, just being honest, and putting yourself out there, even your reputation and your true story, your real life story, and your biggest struggles. I don't think you can overcome without being honest.
I don't either. And that's been one of the coolest things for me. It's pushed me on my show to get so honest and in new ways. And I love that. And that pushes me to grow because it's really scary sometimes to be like, am I really going to say this? What if someone hears it, which they do. And so, but so what, you really do experience growth and you feel at peace.
Yeah.
It brings a peace to your life.
Yeah. You were saying it the other day, serenity and peace.
And joy. Those are the goals, not a relationship. I was saying like really the ultimate goals are in serenity. Yeah. Although, I've read enough Joe Dispenza where he talks about the actual stress chemicals that we can become addicted to in our brains. So a lot of people think it's about other things just because our brain function, as you know.
Right. Yeah, I learned a lot about that we'll get to on the next episode. Yes. But on this episode is the beginning of honesty.
That's right.
The beginning of hope. Hope to actually overcome this, getting real, facing it, facing it all, feeling it all, so that magic can happen.
And we managed to, as we talk about, not name call through it all. Yeah. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We didn't. I love you too. And I love myself enough to know that that's just not something I really do and never have.
Yeah.
And so, and you don't either.
Yeah. And
so, just those are patterns that can be broken if you are experiencing that. Yeah. So we just talk about, some ways that we have been working to communicate. And I think we have learned more in the last couple months too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I hope that the listeners enjoy this show. I'm so grateful for you. I'm also nervous a little bit to release it, but at the same time, I don't know. You said you were nervous to release it.
I wasn't nervous. I was mad.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. I just know that I'm in a state where I was trying to keep everything afloat and also get to treatment and try to get some of these shows knocked out and get to treatment and go get the help that I needed. And I think that's what Dr. Amen said in one of the last episodes. If you haven't seen that, please go listen because it was really good. It was a live therapy session with me and Dr. Amen, one of the most prolific psychiatrists in the world. And he said, asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. And so this was me asking for help and being honest with the listeners of the show. And so I went and got it.
You know what? I'm glad you said that too about that day because I wanted to just share a little bit. After we recorded this episode, you did go to treatment. And while you were leaving for treatment, you and I had our biggest fight we've ever had. I mean, an ugly, gnarly fight where you were basically hiding stuff from me. You were trying to take an Uber to treatment and I lost my shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was screaming at you in a parking lot.
Yeah.
You were trying to take your bags out of the car. I locked the car doors. I mean, it was the most dramatic fight I've ever had. I don't think it's your most dramatic fight, but
no, it was well, not.
But it was for
fighter.
us. It was our biggest fight ever. So
well,
don't get the wrong idea. Like it still was dark and hard.
Yeah. After this, I think that for what I reflected on with a therapist was, because we fought. I was trying not to, right? Just trying to get. I was
kind of were, but you were.
I was fiery, but I was trying to just get there, and
it was making me madder.
It was making you madder, and so I've never seen you raise your voice. So
I was so mad.
Yeah,
at you.
And
so mad.
So the part of that that I looked at was with a therapist was you needed that. You needed to be able to get that out because I was about to be in a place that was really safe. I was going to be able to work on me. And you're right. It was about me for a long time, for at least a month, and getting me to treatment whenever we realized that's what I not need to do, but must do.
Yeah.
And so for you to be bottling that up or stuffing it down or whatever, like it needed to come out. So that way that resentment wasn't there.
I was angry at your phone and the fact that it involved your phone too. Cause do you remember in the car, I was grabbing your phone and screaming at you, this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I've gotten many drugs and other things on there and it hasn't been a healthy relationship. So that's why I'm changing my number and starting fresh. And it's going to be really good for me. A good season, new season.
Well, I'm really, I'm excited. It feels really good.
It does.
Those are things that have to push out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And this conversation, I'm stoked that we recorded it because
I'm going to go back and listen to it.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
it's
need
good.
to.
Mm-hmm.
They said one of the most powerful things while I was at treatment is going back and looking at your arrest videos, like in court.
Yeah.
They said that being able to see that. And so not that it's an arrest video because we were trying to be open and honest, but also being able to see me in that state of not there yet. Yeah. And I'm not there now, but I'm much more improved, right? And I'm on the journey of self-discovery and recovery, self-recovery, I guess. And it feels really good to have a lot of new tools in my toolbox and a lot of great support system around me. Yeah. You being one of them. And us in a new phase of our relationship. So, well, this will probably end our intro, but I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. I'm so grateful for our listeners. Thank you for being here. If you'd like to subscribe, please do on Spotify, on iTunes, and buckle up, Buttercup, because this is a roller coaster of a ride.
Do subscribe because next week we are going to have an episode that talks about, how we've been handling it after this and your experience.
Yeah. We'll dive all into that.
We've got some good stuff coming up from you for sure. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. Welcome to Overcome with Justin Wren and Amy Edwards.
Get yourself cleansed. Do you need it? No.
Yeah, you need to get clean. That is what this episode is about, right, babe?
Sort of, mostly. It's about me getting clean
cleansing.
too. Me getting clean too. Because I have to dive into my own healing. And that's kind of
what do.
We both do.
Each and every person does, but is it okay to do that math right off the bat?
I guess so. I was just going to say too, it just made me think of, it's easy to place blame to, look only at the other person.
Yeah.
When there's a serious issue like this, like you did this and you did this, but, I tend to really, I want to look at myself, but not in like that unhealthy way where you're like, what did I do to deserve this? Or what, I want to look at what I've called into my life and, understand my own patterns. Because I definitely have patterns.
Well, you're saying that, and most of the patterns that I see are all just super positive. 99.9% of them, to me, my perspective is you're incredible.
Chris Jagger out there.
Yeah, Chris Jagger's
Chris Jagger's peeking in.
And that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But there's roles both play, but whenever it comes to something as serious as this, which we all have serious stuff going on.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to know that there is another level of severity to my actions or to this addiction that I struggle with, to substance abuse. And so, I am going to treatment today. Today. And I'm not going kicking and screaming. So that's good. The first time I didn't go kicking and screaming, but it was hard to go. It was really hard.
Why? What was so hard about it?
Well, I think I've got a new perspective this time. And I think what's important about that is the first time I went, I was in a bad place.
You were. Well, you were still getting high right up to the day that you left, right? Weren't you?
Yeah. And it took me 3 attempts, I think, to actually get there.
Oof.
Yeah. Because I think with my roles and responsibilities at Fight for the Forgotten, I got so scared. I knew I needed to go. And the day I was supposed to go, I just was like, I don't know if I can do this. I felt like the addiction was a stranglehold. In fighting, it's called a rear naked choke or a guillotine. I know it's a funny name.
I know the guillotine. You've done that to me.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
You've shown it to me. Yes, I didn't. I did not do that to you.
No, I'd probably be dead.
Yeah,
if
you wouldn't be here unless there was a ref. So, what I think is, it felt like a guillotine was thrown on and sunk in deep, and like my hands, like I didn't have arms. Like I couldn't hand fight. If someone starts putting a stranglehold on you, first thing you do is you control their hands. You tuck your chin.
Oh, well, that's good intel.
Yeah.
Okay.
You tuck your chin to where they can't get to your neck, and
sure.
And then you fight the hands.
I think that's instinct.
It felt like I didn't have hands. I didn't have arms, or that the way that he threw in the guillotine, he wrapped his legs around my arms and I couldn't pull them up to fight the hands. And so I was sinking, I was being strangled. The air felt like the walls were closing in on me, that the blood was leaving my head, and that the kind of that peripheral vision was disappearing. And it was a tunnel vision of like, all I could see was, you're not going to escape this. I've got you this time. Whatever that demon of addiction or that darkness is, it was like, it had me in a corner. It had me on the ground. It had beaten me to a pulp. There was nothing I could do about it. And it had that stranglehold on me. And I just felt like, well, I'm going to die from this. I don't know why it was those substances or that control and not being in a clear mind, but I took off to Mexico, and it was during COVID.
Right.
And I got trapped down there. There was no more flights coming back.
Right.
And so after the suicide attempt, I came back and I was determined I was going to go. On my drive down, because I had been in Mexico, I had to quarantine longer, and their medical director had required me having to get every type of COVID test there was. I think it was 3, not just one, but like all 3 types there were.
Yeah, because this was like April of 2020.
Yeah.
So it was the height of
it was the height
all
of it.
that.
Yeah. April, May. I mean, whenever you'd go in, every client that was in treatment had to wear a mask the entire time. We had to be 6 foot apart. The only time we could take it off, we had to wear it working out. The only time we could take it off is like take each bite, and then when we're in bed, in shower. Right. And so they were just being extra cautious, because at a treatment center, it's not a hospital. So it's not like they're taking COVID patients.
Mm-hmm.
If one person gets it, everybody's got to quarantine. Like it's shut down.
Oh, right,
basically.
right. Yeah.
They quarantine that one person, but now it's risking everything.
Right.
So I was headed down, and they told me I have to get this new treatment. I called my friend David Sinclair, who wrote Lifespan, incredible Harvard professor. And he said, bro, there is one of these tests that is unaccounted for that I could send to you. It's got your name on it. And like times like these are hard to come by. I'm drop shipping it, like overnighting it there so you can be there. I was like, thank you so much. So I called him, said, I'm coming. We've got that test. I can take it right when I get there. And they said, great. When was the last time you used? And I was like, oh, well, I've been in quarantine for 18 days. I was like, I've been sober for more than 2 weeks. I'm like, oh. And the intake person, I'm like, isn't that good? And he goes, well, yeah, it's okay. Get here. You're just going to be cash pay now. And I was like, what do you mean? Your insurance company won't cover it if you haven't used within the last 5 days.
Oh my God.
I was like,
that is so fucked up.
I was like, but I just attempted suicide. I almost died of overdose. Like, can't you take me? Not if you haven't used in the last 5 days. We can take you. Just lie? That's what I said. And he goes, well, you already let us know.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, and I'm literally driving from Oklahoma City down to Texas.
You're like, I'm picking up a
bag
of weed right now.
I guess I know how to fix this. And he goes, so we're not going to see you tonight. And I was like,
oh my God.
And I go, well, at first I'd asked him how much cash pay was. It was like over $800 a day.
Yeah.
It was $860 per day. I actually still have some debt from it and things, right? Mm-hmm. And so it was a big sacrifice to do that. But I went and I stopped and I found a fishing guide at Lake Texoma. I wanted to clear my head. I love to go fishing. And I was like, well, maybe if I just drink a 6-pack on the boat, or maybe if I just have some weed or something, then I can go straight down. Anyways, for an addict, you can't just have a little bit.
As we know.
And yeah, as you know.
As we now know.
Yeah, as we now know. And you can't stay stopped. So my thing of like going fishing, sleeping one night, going the next day turned into like another 10 days of using.
Yeah.
Another 10 days of using. And I could not physically get myself to Dallas or to Texas.
Yeah.
I couldn't get myself there. I was on the border and I was like in such a bad way. literally, I think I was on the brink of like another like near death like thing, right? I had almost killed myself like, 3 weeks before.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm fighting for my life again. And I remember I just had to drive back to Oklahoma City and just plead for help for someone to drive me down. And that was someone from Alcoholics Anonymous, a program, a good friend of mine, and a guy that was sponsoring me at that time, who's an incredible man, but he just snatched me up, drove me down. And I'd used in the last 5 days, and insurance covered it, but they did not cover the 90 days. So I was committed to go to 90 days. That's why I said up front, I'm going to do it all. Whatever you guys got, I'm doing everything.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of 2 guys to do the 90 days, but guess what? During it, they came back to me and said, hey, we got to talk. I'm like, okay, what's up? And they're like, your insurance isn't going to cover 90 days. I'm like, but that's what I need. And they said, if you use the last 5 days, like go. And so I went, and they ended up not covering a lot. And so I was stuck with tens of thousands of dollars of debt.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I feel like going into it though, being beaten down so much by it. And obviously, I mean, I don't want to wear this quote out. I shared it on my show, but if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging.
Well, I said that to you.
You said that to me. That's right.
Yeah.
I heard a quote from
me,
from the mightiest, most powerful, badass person I know. The one that I love the most. The person that's the best person ever happened to me.
That's very kind.
I love you, darling.
I love you too.
Thank you for supporting me through this. And we're going to get into it. But the thing that I was saying about that was, I had this mind frame as a fighter, I think, that I have to attack what's been attacking me. I have to beat this out of me. I have to,
like a fighter mentality.
I have to cut it out and remove it.
Yeah.
Just like an opponent in a cage that he's going to pummel me if I don't pummel him. Mm-hmm. I've got to beat this thing. And so I went in, and I think it took me a long time to get around to actually wanting help, because maybe self-pity or sulking or just feeling like, looking around and seeing some really successful people, but seeing some people that, have gone through hard times. And I think in our minds, I try my best really not to do this. I love people no matter where they've come from. But whenever you go into a place and here's a guy coming off the street, here's a guy coming out of prison, here's a guy that hurt some people, here's a guy that, you're like, am I like these guys? And you might try to distance yourself from it in your mind or something. It just took me a while to say, you know what, get this. And so I was one of 2 guys that stayed the 90 days. It was like this borderline abusive, treatment thing. And it was maybe what I needed at that time. I chose that place.
Yeah.
My board of directors have looked at some other places like, that one's like a green smoothie, coddle you. I don't want that. This place, they're going to speak to me like I really need it. And so anyways, going into this one, I feel like a massive shift has changed. We just had meditation earlier today, and I was tearing up in it. I did a solo cast last night. They'll come on my show later. And I feel like it's time to go to war, but instead of against myself, it's going to war for myself. Not against myself, but for myself, on behalf of me. And to almost like a self-love with or a spear, with love at the tip of the spear. Mm-hmm. Love is at the tip of the spear, and I've got to puncture and pierce with love whatever it is that's so wounded that hopefully maybe it's even a gentle touch of
this
love.
Metaphor is just
spirit.
evolving.
It's evolving. I know. It's crazy. I'm trying to talk too much. Let's get into it. Let's.
No, but I mean, I picked up when you said supporting you through this. I mean, for me, that's been a very challenging situation, because I've been trying to like I talk about on this show all the time. I'm talking about, our boundaries. I'm talking about emotions. I'm talking about being our best selves. And it was really, really challenging for me to figure out how to support me and then do what's right in this situation.
Yeah.
And and the best thing by you, because I know that I have enabling codependency tendencies. And so, so what did I do? I mean, like let's see. I tried to talk to you, but then as I said, let's see, in the last couple episodes, I've talked about anger and I've talked about self-trust. And I really went into my own self-trust on this, when I knew what was going on and yet didn't know. And so once I committed to that, I was really shown things that I needed to see. And then I got angry.
Yeah.
And I don't think I dealt with that so constructively at first, because I got really, really angry.
Yeah. But I think I even remember telling you in that moment, even though I wasn't in a clear state of mind.
Yeah.
I wasn't clean. I was like, hey, it's valid.
Yeah, you did.
It's
you
valid.
did. You just stood there.
Yeah.
And you did seem to understand.
Yeah. Well, I think
it was very dramatic.
I think I told you later that I think it was a healthy angry, that I know that I needed to see it. It was at least healthy for me. And maybe, I don't really remember all of it. So it's
for the best.
Hazy. Okay. Okay. But Amy, from the first treatment, I did learn a lot, and now I just have to apply it. And I have to get head knowledge and heart knowledge is two different things, right? Like I need it to sink from the head deep into my heart and soul. And I need to know logically when things are happening and things are progressing and things are creeping up or cropping up in my life that, maybe I need to cut it off here.
That goes across the board for anything. Yeah. So many times we know all these tools that we should do, or could do, but how do you get them to seep into your heart? How do you actually put them into action?
Yeah.
So many times we just, because like you know all of that. Yeah. And even anybody listening, if you're struggling with anything, we know all these things we're told to do or should do.
I wanted to take a picture yesterday, actually working out on it, because there was a quote that I never seen there. And I normally try to read all the quotes and everything else. And it basically said, mankind forms their tools, and then the tools form the man. And it was something along that line where we make these tools, but then if we use them correctly, it will form us. Right. And bigger metaphor than that. I don't know the quote, but anyways, it was.
No, but it makes sense. Like if you're thinking of like a workout machine or something,
Right. Yeah. We made it, but then now it will literally chisel us. Right.
Yeah.
So now with these tools, I need to chisel away at some of these toxic cycles, these other things. And then what I meant by what I learned is, you talked about codependent other habits. I'm not trying to coddle and make things. It's good that you're self-aware that there's some of these tendencies, but I'm really grateful that you are who you are, because it's given me an invitation to become better. And even the hard part of you saying, you're doing this or this isn't here and I'm moving on. And
I've worked too hard. And all the stuff I talk about on this show, I've worked too hard on myself
for sure
to allow it. And it was
you're too
dimming my shine.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to have a keychain that said, "Don't dull my sparkle, asshole." It broke.
We need to get you a new one.
I really do. I do.
And I can.
And then, it's true. It's like you can for so long be like, no, I maintain my vibe. I keep doing what I need to do. But if it's really, really close to you, we can fall into habits and patterns that are not healthy. And I know I was. And I mean, for instance, I've gained at least 25 pounds, so, and I'm pretty sure I was stress eating, because during this, I was like eating bags of chips, and I was like, wait, maybe these two things are connected.
For sure. And I want to say I'm sorry and apologize about it. And I am, but I think I'm going to get some new tools where.
Thank you, honey.
Whenever you're welcome. But at the same time, if I'm being really real and honest, I think that you can wear out sorries easily and quickly. And so people or you don't want to hear me say sorry. You want to see that I am.
I have to.
You want me to show you.
Yeah. I've heard too many promises now,
Sure.
which I think anybody that's dealt with an addict,
Yeah.
had an addict in their life has had that happen.
Yeah.
And this interim time before you go tonight, from the time that I got so angry, has been very weird, really. It's been good, but I feel like I just want people to know honestly that it's been a challenging time.
Yeah.
Because I've had
some really good things.
Anger flare-ups.
Yeah, sure.
They're having
There've been some really good things.
We've
That's what's
dealt with
weird.
it well.
That's what's weird about it is that there's been some really good things, but there's been some hard things. Like, for instance, I was supposed to be there yesterday.
Yeah.
And the beds were full. This is a good place. So it's very busy and there's a wait list. And so today there's several beds opening up. So there's no excuse that I can't be there. But that moment, I remember, brought something up for you. I was on the phone with her coming home and I was coming to get my bag to go. And all of a sudden I got a call and it's like, hey, there's not a bed. And, but please stay sober and communicate with me. Can I do anything to support you in the interim? How many days do you have? I'm like, I've been sober, I think 9 days.
That's probably a really hard part of it. Cause I have wondered, I'm like, well, there's a distinct possibility that he'll start using again.
Well, that's what happened I dipped out to Mexico. I dipped out to Lake Texoma, and then I finally made it there.
I know.
And so I'm, I talked with my friend and Dr. Amen, and he said, you've grown. This is, it's not linear progress. You've grown. You didn't set back and you haven't disappeared. You have 10 days sober.
And honestly, I've grown too, because I didn't watchdog the shit out of that. I didn't oversee it. I had to just sort of let go because it was too much for me.
Yeah. Well, I think a good thing, although it's been really, really hard, is that I recognized and you recognized a boundary that this isn't on you, it's on me. And I have support in other places. Like if someone is struggling with addiction and they do have some resources of people that have gotten better, have gotten well, and they have gone to therapy or sober living or treatment, they have people that know this very intimately, that have either gone through it or have supported people through it. And I knew I could go ask them for help. But I think that just going back to that moment of yesterday, I remember we had a great day. I was about to go off and then I find out, no, I'm not. And I'm asking her, can you please text me that? Can you please send me that? Because I got to show not just you, Amy, but not so many people, but several people. Hey, I'm trying to openly communicate with everybody. Be honest. I haven't used today. I'm not going to use today. That's the plan, at least. And check it, that's the plan.
Well, I had to just make it clear that it's not going to be in the house anymore. I think you got clear on that too, because the kids, it's just not, that's a no-go, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so when you came back after I got mad, then you were gone for a couple of days. And then when you came back, I was like, as long as you're sober, we can have a conversation. And that's when I was like, I proposed treatment to you, which was the only thing I had. And you said, yes. And so I just wanted to tell people too, it was really a weird feeling kind of to enforce that boundary because it's your home too. But I was like, that's a non-negotiable around the kids and in the home. Sure. And you have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we entered this interim time.
Yeah.
And yes, yesterday you had to tell me, you showed me that text and I bent over and I was like,
I think you looked exhausted.
I am exhausted.
I know.
I am exhausted.
And that's wearing on both of us, but I don't want to be ignorant to the fact that it's probably more exhausting on you. Although I am so tired.
No, I know it's exhausting for you.
I'm so tired of this cycle.
Yeah.
And so I hope that any of your listeners can hear that, if you are going through this, for me, I'm grateful that this is the healthiest I've ever gone through this process.
Because even when you relapsed and you stayed at home.
because
You didn't disappear.
the time before I disappeared.
Mhm.
I dipped out. I disappeared because I don't want to use around anybody.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Because I know it can get into harder things. It can get into harder things, and I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
No way will I bring that around people I love and not let them see me in this dark place and stuff like that. There's a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of stuff. And it's a form of like self-punishment. Like some people cut, some people do stuff like that. But whenever I get in this dark place and I start using, it's to numb some pain. But then whenever I start trying to sober up and come out of it, I feel so gross and I feel so bad. And I feel like, see, this is who you've always been, or this is who you really are. This is who you're meant to be. Like that's the self-talk that goes on. You're worthless. You're not good enough. You can't beat this. And so I'll go get like bread, a loaf of bread and eat it, or pizza. I love pizza. I love good burgers. And I have celiac though, you know, and I can also trace what I'm going to go look at now is I have celiac, and Chris Murphy, who you know, that got the new smile, when he has celiac and his doctors say, my doctors have said too, it's not just an upset stomach, your second brain. It's not just nausea. It's not just a headache. It's not just joint pain. Like you're literally depleting your brain. And so if I look and track back this one too, whenever I started letting myself have gluten here and there, and I'm depleting
which is
my
honestly
brain,
almost the whole time we've been together. Like,
I've allowed myself to do it. There's these pills you can have and you can take them and it kind of softens the blow. And, you know, saying that there's a pill for it with even celiac, there's a pill for it. It's like, I feel like addicts and probably a lot of culture, like we can be addicts to a lot of things, people, experiences, food, all sorts of stuff. Right. But for me, like I told Chris, we had a big heart to heart last night. I was able to help him. Now he's helping me. He's going to drive me to treatment. I said it and then I laughed. I go, Chris, I just wish there was a damn pill for this. Just to cure this addiction, just give me a pill for it. And then I smiled. I go, oh man, okay. I need to go examine those words.
Right.
I wish there was a pill to fix this.
I mean, I saw a guy the other day. He was wearing a hat. Oh, it was the guy that did an Austin Muscle Restoration, Brandon, who is great, by the way. And I'm going to keep going back. But anyway, he was wearing a hat when I got there that said, there is no magic pill. And I was like, I need that hat right now.
Wow.
I know.
There is no magic pill. So I've got to go do some deep work. Yeah. And I promise myself. Yeah. And I promise you, and the Board of Fight for the Forgotten and everything else, I'm going into it healthy, in a healthy place, like looking forward to it. Like that's at least some progress. And I really want to get it.
If anybody is listening and wants to go to treatment, people are crazy supportive of it. Like they really go, hey, good for you. Like, cause people need that and people are understanding about that. And it's a really good thing. Literally, if anyone told me, hey, I got to go to treatment, I've got a problem, I'd be like, do it. That is number one priority. Yeah. Your life.
For sure. And the first time I didn't tell a soul, except for the must know people.
Yeah, I knew that about you. Well, you told him months later or something. You told it on this show for the first time, or no? Yeah,
I think it was this show.
Aubrey's, this one. It
was yours, because I did yours before.
Yeah,
about a year ago, about the first time going. And now I'm going to double dip. Hopefully get some really good stuff out of it. But yeah, I just really want to get it this time.
Good.
This podcast is sponsored by Onnit. Onnit.com/overcome. I have 2 Onnit packets in my hand right now. It's the blackberry lemonade flavor of Alpha Brain and the coconut lime. Getting ready to take one of these And I love it because even on my Dr. Amen podcast, he was saying that I need the L-theanine and the L-tyrosine. I don't know that I'm pronouncing those right.
I never say them right.
That it was really good brain fuel, and the krill oil and all the omegas that he was saying. One of the things that I got, the omegas, the krill oil, was in what you have pulled up right there. And you have some experience, Amy Edwards.
Yes, I do.
With Total Human.
Total Human. Well, when you left for rehab, I found a whole box of Total Human. So I was like, I'm going to devote myself and take these every single day for 30 days. And I did. And I really liked it.
Yeah.
I have felt really good. Now, I took pretty decent care of myself while you were gone. I didn't drink and other things, but I staying on top of it is easy when you've got those little packets, and I liked it. So it works for women. Yeah. I felt really good. I'm 49, and I have not ever devoted myself like that to
a supplement regimen.
And this one was so easy, and it's like 30% off right now. So on it.com/overcome.
Yep. 30% off at onit.com/overcome. Just like you said.
So anyway, I just really enjoyed it. So I would say it was beneficial. I'm still using it. And so now it's been a little over a month, and I'm feeling really good. Yeah, I like the night support too. I like the night support
a lot. Mm-hmm. I was taking it while I was at treatment and before. But what I love about Total Human specifically is that it's all of Onnit's best for the most part in 2 packs, a morning support and a night support. Mm-hmm. Makes it super easy. We travel. And so instead of taking a bunch of bottles with you, just take these packets. Yeah. They come in a morning and day stuck together. And they're really nice packaging. I love the quotes on it every day.
I do
too. Like they're motivating. And then I can just say 5 days. I need to grab 5, put it in my bag, and it's super easy to pack instead of a bunch of clinky bottles. And so I love Total Human, Total Gut Health that I had, and then Alpha Brain. So,
and it's great for the new year. Yeah. So you can get 10% off when they go to your link and like start your new year and just try that. Just try a regimen if you have. It's so easy to be sporadic about it. You know, I watch you with your other supplements too. Sometimes you take other things, lysine or whatever you need to take, and you're spotty with it.
Yeah.
I am that way too. Yeah. So this is really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. So let's get back to the show. I hope you're enjoying this episode with Amy and I talking about me going to treatment. And we love you guys. Thanks so much. It's onit.com/overcome.
Teamwork, babe.
Teamwork. And what I was going to say was this time though, at least, I was able to open up, and I might have shared with too many people this time. I don't know, but not really. I've shared with Hot Pie here.
Yeah.
Hot Pie Media.
Yeah.
They know what I'm going to do. Fully supportive. I let Onnit, who are my sponsors and my coaches, helping me make a comeback. In the staff workout, I let some of the executive team know. I let the staff know after a workout. And what happened after the workout? I'm like, oh man, I just worked out with all these guys. I've been encouraged by them before. They know a lot of my story and journey. And now I'm about to tell them all. And when I told them all, guess what happened? I thought I was going to get some looks. You have this insecurity, right? And I'm like, I don't care. I just got to do it anyways. And they do care about me. And I need to tell Juan and some of these guys, my coach and John, and I do. There was a line to give me hugs. A line. And I was just tearing up. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
And I've told the board, I've told a lot of people, our partners with Fight for the Forgotten, as I take a big step back from Fight for the Forgotten.
Right. Well, you were pushed back a little bit too.
Well, yeah, for sure. Pushed back.
You willingly took the step that you were asked to take back. Right?
Yeah. And I was being in there protecting the organization, and I'm protecting you. I'm not going to come back until I'm ready. So I don't care. I don't care if I do care if they say, come on, but I've got to come back when I'm ready.
Well, so, I don't know if this had an effect on you or not, but I think I told you during this too. I was like, I'm not going to be with somebody who has like private shit and then the public shit. And it's 2 different things. Like for me, those have to match up. That's why we're sitting here right now. Like I'm not going to have a life partner that doesn't live like fully open and honest.
Yeah. Can I speak to that real quick?
Yes.
One of the things that, and this isn't to suck up before I go to treatment.
Are you trying to suck up?
I'm really not.
Actually,
but I'm trying to be honest.
Okay.
I'm trying to be honest. unbridled honesty. Like it's just loose and it's racing, it's charging straight ahead. That's what's so deeply inspired me over
loose
this
in a
last
good way
year.
or
in a great way.
Oh, okay, good.
Like what I mean is like you are so honest that it like what you say, everything's got to match up. And I want to be that way too. The thing that I struggle with is this addiction. And I feel so much shame with it. And now I'm breaking that pattern of like, okay, now this time around this process, I can be open, honest right now where I'm at. And then coming out, I can continue that pace to where if there is any slip ups, not meaning relapse, but meaning like thoughts about it.
Yeah, that's the part that
Like
you form a new
it.
pattern in.
Yeah.
Like if you have a thought, which I've told you that before, I'm like, just call me. But you're not in a pattern of doing that. You're still in the old one. So if you can find a new pattern, whenever you feel that urge, like get in a habit of telling someone probably.
Yeah. The thing that I know it does is it scares people if I say, because I've done it. And I think I might have told some people that they weren't the ones prepared to receive they don't have the tools and equipment and or they've been
people
wounded
just
so much.
take it really personally, I think.
Yeah. If I'm going through this right here and I don't want to do that over there. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, why would you? And I'm like, like, I'm sorry. And so,
but regardless of what they say,
that,
you
I've
have
got
to
do it
anyway.
Yeah,
you can't control someone else's reaction, even my own, even mine.
And I think you have great reactions most times and almost every time. And the thing that I mean is there are people and places and programs around helping people in recovery that they're there to listen. They're there to help. And sometimes it's it's not the responsibility of anyone else but you and a support system that you surround yourself with. But you have to take ownership of it, meaning I can't put my sobriety on you at all. Zero.
Right.
And I'm grateful that I have such a supportive partner that we can talk about and be open and you'll be there. But it's got to be on me. And the thing that I love about I didn't even know what recovery was until May 15th of 2020. But I read a quote somewhere and it says, addiction is change. Addiction is giving up everything for one thing. And recovery is giving up one thing for everything. And I never heard that until these last maybe 10 or 20 days.
It's amazing. That's an amazing phrase.
Yeah.
Say.
So all I got to do is give up one thing. For me, it's not one thing. It's substances, because I was kind of more of they always ask, what's your drug of choice?
Right. What's available?
Yeah. I'm like, what is there?
I'm relighting this just a little bit because I like it.
Yeah.
I was just, knowing what I need in a relationship and that openness and that truth, honesty, not only with ourselves and with each other, which we weren't getting, but on a bigger scale too. And I think I wanted to also address just my side of things.
Yeah.
And when you said I seemed exhausted,
you were.
Yesterday when you said that, yeah, I have been, because like when you're in this position, it's all about the other person's life. Like it's been all about you, all about your everything. And it's like, I felt a little like I was losing myself and lost myself through this. Like it was just so much about the other person, and you have to like guard against that, I think, because it can become very codependent where it is, and you're too involved in the other person's life. Like you have to find your own. So as you go into this, and I just want to address that, like, I feel like I'm going into my own recovery.
Yeah.
And getting back in touch with myself.
Yeah.
At this time. And so many times we can say like, I don't have time to do all that. And suddenly like, I have time. I'm like, I'm gifted with it in different ways right now. And I also took the liberty of just the holidays are coming and stuff and people are inviting me to Thanksgiving, whatever. And I'm saying no to everything. I'm just like, I don't think so. I don't think that's for me right now. And I've been really honest about what we're going through and just saying like, I am in my own recovery right now. And I recognize that I have plenty of work to do to get like, I don't really want to say back to myself, but to grow from this and become better and strengthen my own relationship with myself.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I feel like that's part of what's been so exhausting. I've had a hard time putting my finger on it, but I think that's it. Whereas I love you and I love having you around, but you've got to go do this.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like,
I know I have to.
And I'm just like, kind of like at the end of my rope where I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, so ready to just have time to breathe. Cause for me, it went from like relapse time, whatever. And that was weeks, and then straight to anger, and then figuring out, oh my God, if I end this because of this, which I was ending it at that point, how do I deal with that? The stress of that, then still anger flaring up. How do I deal with Overcome show? And how do I, like, our lives are so intertwined. And so it was all about how it relates to you and figuring it out. And then you come back and you say, I'm going to go. And then it's tomorrow. It's next day. You have all these things to do to wrap up your loose ends. And then, it was just and I just didn't feel like I had a moment to really catch my breath.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that feels when I say that to you. I hope you understand.
It's good to hear.
I think our communication has been pretty good.
Oh, it's been really
I'm not
good.
saying it to hurt you at all,
No,
because I love you.
I know that.
And we have had really fun times even before you go.
Yeah, we have. We've had some great times.
Yes.
And the thing that I'm really striving for, is it okay if we share about, okay, so to address how you say it felt like it was all about me these last 10 days.
Longer than that for me.
Yeah. I mean, getting me there.
Yeah.
Getting me there to the right place.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that. In the addiction, I did not, because, okay.
No, you were checked out.
I have something that I'm going to get to. It's a book, Dr. Amen. But before that, Brigham had told me something. He's a guest of your show. He's going to be a guest of my show. He's a great friend of ours. I look at him like a brother. Yeah.
Brigham Bueller, ways well. Mm-hmm.
Yep. He had said something to me, and I just want to ask your perspective, because this is good for me to hear. He started to say at first, he goes, it's like you go from being selfless to selfish. Then he goes, well, maybe selfish isn't the word, but it's oblivious. Just absolutely oblivious. And is it okay to, I mean, like, I don't know, can you riff off that? Is that just let me hear it so I can take that in to
what do you want me to say? What it was like when you were using?
No, I mean, well, I don't know, but just.
You were oblivious.
100%.
That's what I didn't say specifics on the show because I didn't know how it was going to play out. And that would have been last week's episode with Angie. And I talked about, that my self-trust, like I knew something was off with you, but you were telling me everything's fine. And I was just so fucking confused and I wasn't trusting myself. And so that moment I committed on the show to trusting myself. And that's when everything shifted.
Yeah.
And I was really wowed by like everything shifting. Cause I was like, I'm not going to listen to what he's telling me anymore. I know what I know.
Yeah.
And that's weird because I've known every time and we tend to doubt ourselves. And so I wanted self-trust and I got it.
Yeah, good.
I got a nice 2-week lesson in it.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know that the other times you knew
but you were already in oblivion. You were already in the oblivious state where it had taken over.
Yeah. And I don't want to be that person. Not at all. And the person that I do want to be is you like really encouraged me the other day with Dr. Amen's book when you gave it to me. It talks about taming the hidden dragons. Your mind is always listening, or your brain is always listening. The only thing I want to say about that is this is why I'm going in this time. Is this time I'm not going in because I have to. Although, yes, the reason I say I don't have to is because for a real deal addict, an alcoholic like me, I don't have to do anything except use.
Yeah. And
I could leave this and I don't want to at all. I could leave, fight for the forgotten.
You're a really good talker. And they all are, and manipulator and all that. And
Sure.
I don't want to call you a manipulator, but when you really believed it before, you were like, no, I'm going to change. I'm going to do this,
Yeah, I did believe that.
I know.
That's that firm resolution. That's part of the cycle. But
hey, I had a thought.
Okay.
I have an idea.
The only thing I was going to say was.
Okay, say it, and then I have an idea.
It's not that I have to, I want to. I really do want to this time. And it's only the second time, but I want this.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing of growth for me, which growth, that's what Dr. Amen talked about, using my story as an example, was post-traumatic growth.
Yeah.
And it's like 10% of people that experience PTSD or
I love that.
stress, 10% of people dig deep, find purpose, some sort of new way of life, a life of service or a new spiritual life, or these practices and habits of how to make the world better, taking their traumas and turning it into something positive.
Well, I think that goes for me too. I really do. I think that's applicable to anybody who's going through this on either end of it. Because
and I'm not the victim. You are.
I feel a little traumatized. Not going to lie.
For sure.
I'm a little traumatized.
I'm the one that was I was the one acting way out of line.
Well, our trust is, 2 weeks ago, I talked a lot about rebuilding trust with Andra, and she had some good points about that, about it can always be rebuilt, which I do believe.
Well, that's hopeful. I want to rebuild. This is the thing when you said that. I believe we can rebuild trust between ourselves. I'm also on a journey to rebuild trust with myself, because I have to be able to trust myself with this, because I failed and let's reframe that. But anyways, I've fallen to this over and over and over again. I've dug that hole myself, and it's like, I want to throw those things away. I want to throw that shovel away, and I want to find these tools to somehow build a ladder and climb out of it and stay out of it.
Yeah. Well, I had a thought.
What's your thought? What's your idea?
When you were saying, that's not the person I want to be, the person I do want to be. What if instead of being either of those, you're just the person asking the question? You're the person that's recognizing who you want to be, rather than you're the person looking at, am I like this or am I like this? You're that awareness.
Yeah.
You're not either of them.
Well, I think you have a good point on that. Like being aware of, okay, I don't know. Sometimes I think, well, here's the good Justin, here's the bad Justin,
But if you're able to look at that, who is that's looking at that?
Step back from it. And
it's your awareness. It's your spirit. It's your real
if I can love both
soul.
Sides of those and embrace them. The thing that the chairman of my board said, he's an incredible man. He said that one of the most life-changing things that he did for himself in his 30s, when he was just not getting much sleep and doing all these surgeries all through the day and working on like an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour sleep, and also performing on high level athletes and all that pressure and weight and stress of stuff. And his daughter also. Anyways, they did this stuff because it's been very helpful to them, called psychodrama. And I'd never heard of it. And it's basically going, and I know the inner child work and different stuff like that. But the way he had talked about it was, for me, I can be, there's that bullied child that wants to numb pain. And he's like, now you go into that moment, you start to try to talk to that child as you are now, the man that you are now. And, or you talk as that child. I don't know the process, but you talk as that child, then you talk to that child.
Yeah.
And then moving forward, like through that awareness, you can take that step back and say, whenever these things start to crop up and start to present themselves, you can, like what Jared Padalecki said to me the other day, whenever that text message about when you're down, don't listen to yourself. Talk to yourself.
Totally stole it.
Oh.
Put it on my TikTok.
Yeah. And when you're in a low place, don't listen to yourself, talk to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Now in that moment, I'm connecting it with Dr. Higgs. I can go, hey, now it's time for me to talk to you and to step in and protect you. Like the protection you might not have had at school or home or whatever it is. That's like, you know what? Now I'm a 34-year-old man and I can step in and protect. I don't have to be that way. That young, hurt, wounded dragon, as Dr. Amen said, that doesn't control me. I tame that dragon and I step in and protect that young bullied child. So that's what I'm hoping to really develop and meditate on and journal about, and really talk to some professionals who this is their vocation and they got into it for a reason because they want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to help people specifically with this. And if that's their calling, then I better go in there like a sponge, ready to learn. So anyway, sorry to ramble.
You're not rambling. I was kind of thinking how I can apply it to my own life, and like, what that looks like as I look at the next month and a half or however long it's going to be,
30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. But I think on the other side of this,
Post-traumatic growth. For sure.
Yeah.
I think so too. Let's address really quick too, like how we've communicated through this.
Sure.
Like we managed not to say mean things or get really mad at each other.
Thank
and
goodness.
to stay pretty balanced. And that takes work on both our parts.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe.
Chris told me something last night and I wanted to apply it back to us. We'll get there. But from my first experience and how they would talk down at you and cuss at you and all that other stuff. When I told him, I go, do you think that was helpful for me? Like I'm asking genuinely because sometimes I wanted it, felt like I needed it. And other times I felt like, is this helping or hurting? And he goes, bro, I'm one of you. He goes, nobody is going to be able to say anything as mean to you as you have already said to yourself. And so he said, basically like, you're not a dog. You're not a dog that needs to have its face shoved in shit. And I was like, wow. And he goes, dogs don't even need that, bro. And he's like, so like go in there with a new perspective of like this self-talk, And so I guess coming back to us, thank God, thank goodness, thank you, Amy.
Well,
and I'm even
that's
thankful for myself.
one thing I don't do. I don't say things I can't take back.
Yeah.
I've been really good about that. Through both the ending of my marriages, they literally have nothing that I've written, like nothing mean that I've said.
And that's
I just don't do
speaking
it.
to your character, and it's taught me a lot.
It's very hard to do.
It's very hard to do. And it's hard whenever you get into some sort of codependent relationship or enmeshment.
We feed in that.
Enmeshment between families.
Mm-hmm.
Like married, I've seen a lot of married couples, and it's like when the wife gets mad at the husband, she goes and she gives reinforcements with,
and they all talk shit.
Yeah, and the whole family and friends all talking shit about the husband, or vice versa, and that's just not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Like instead of doing that, like let's look at the real issue and what's going on, the action. And let's find a solution to the problem.
To that too. I did talk to some of my friends and my sister and stuff, but I didn't ask advice really. I really did work on that self-trust enough to where I was like, I'm going to know what to do. And so that's been its own exercise through this too. And just like sitting with it and being able to go, okay, well, what do I really feel here? And I mean, I feel like I want to stay with you. I want to give it a chance. I want to, I mean, if you had still been, using, I wouldn't have. I was going to stick with the boundary of that's non-negotiable.
Right.
And so I recognize that you need treatment. So I think that's part of where this exhaustion came from too, is that like, go get it done already,
Sure.
And so, but I didn't go like talk trash and dwell on it in this like negative way. And that takes work too, because it's at your top of your mind. And I have friends who do it and they'll like rehash shit. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, that's not healthy and it's not productive. So what are you going to do about it? You've seen this now. So what are you going to do? Yeah.
Well, you're reminding me like,
I just decided to figure it out myself.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, bringing up the past and just living in that, I mean, that's hard because so for an addict, and I'll call it, yes, there's patterns and you got to learn from them. But an addict is someone that a lot of times most of us can put ourselves in the same boat where it's you have fear or anxiety of the future and you have a ton of regret and shame and guilt and condemnation about the past. Mm-hmm. And so I'm thankful that part of your process in our communication was like focusing on the task at hand. Although it was tiring, the task at hand is getting there and getting some things done and being healthy until I get there, not using, putting that shit down.
Yeah, but I detached from
it. You detaching so I could do it. So I could.
I'm not fucking doing it for you, right?
I know you're not.
Yeah.
And that would be.
I'm not saying that for you. I'm saying it for everybody.
Exactly. But I appreciate that about you. Because if it was up to you to get me sober, I wouldn't get sober.
And it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
That's a vicious cycle. I don't want to take you on that road, or I don't want to be on that road either. Mm-mm. So it's definitely been a learning process.
Well, but you're being so open about it. Even just the difference you said about your first time going in and this time, look, you're releasing podcasts about it. You're telling people up front. I mean, that's hugely different.
Yeah.
And it's creating an accountability system for you, because now all these people know, all right, this is something he's still dealing with and, he needs support and you're just more accountable. And that was kind of why I talked to my friends. I didn't do it to get their opinion. Sure. I created some accountability around it because for myself, for my own boundaries, for, my own kids and home and everything. And people have stayed on top of it. My sister texts me and she's like, is he there yet? And I was like, no. But no,
I'm going.
I had to answer without feeling like I was making excuses for you or covering for you, because that is such a codependent thing that I have done so many times in the past in an old relationship with someone who had an addiction. Is that, and I've done it with you. I've done it to where I lied to people. It's essentially lying. It's making things sound better than they are and being like, oh, no, it's like this, no, you just got to point blank say it and own the truth. And that's challenging, but I did it, I did do it. And I just told her the flat truth because I worry about what my sister thinks of me and I don't want her to think I'm an idiot. Yeah. And so, that part was trickier.
It's hard for me too. I worry about what your sister thinks about me. I was supposed to meet her.
I know. Well, she was here on the anger day.
And I disappeared. And so, God.
It's okay, honey.
I know. I'm trying to find the balance here where it's like, I want to be brutally open, honest, real, transparent, all that stuff. And I wanted to get some of these podcasts done instead of keeping it in the dark, instead of hiding it, instead of not being real with myself and with others, and to increase that accountability. And so, like what you said, I just repeated what you said, but when I talk to the place that I'm going and they talk to me about what their vision statement is, and it was basically helping those who are struggling in alcohol and addiction and substance abuse to find their purpose. And after that, after helping them find that, they will be able to help others find their purpose. And so when I talked to Dr. Amen, which we did a live therapy session on my show, I asked him, could we record it? Could we record it? And he's like, do you think that's going to be helpful for you and helpful for others? And he goes, if you do, then let's do it. It's going to help you be part of your process, be therapeutic, and it's letting some people in behind the curtains and to see what's going on so that when they're in that situation, it can help them. He's like, I'm all for it. So that's been kind of my guiding light in these last 10 days is this helping me and will it potentially help others? And first and foremost, I got to help me because I'll be no help to others if it doesn't help me right now because I'm in a crisis mode.
Honestly, it's being honest about it is just a habit. And you just get in a habit of it and like it starts to feel really good. The more honest and open I've gotten in my life, and I check myself with the littlest things, but like the text message to my sister, that one's maybe bigger, but even just anything, I check all of a sudden, wait, am I making this sound a little different than the reality, than the truth about it? And then I'm like, yeah, I'm not telling this person the truth, why I don't want to go to something or why I'm not showing up or why whatever it is. And so you just tell the truth and you know what? People can handle it.
Sure. Can I get honest about why I think this time was hard to get honest?
You can get honest about whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to get honest about why it was hard to be honest, at least. And I don't even think, yes, it was hard to be honest with you, with Hot Pie right now. It's kind of uncomfortable. I got sweat in my armpits.
Really?
A little bit, but
I was like, this is great.
This is great. This is great. But at the same time, like I'm the addict. And I think, I had a lot of strides and made a lot of progress, and that's not to pat myself on the back, but the thing that made it hard was I went on the world's largest podcast and I shared about my story of recovery. Mm-hmm. And through that, someone's life was saved. A good friend of mine that was at our home last night. Mm-hmm. Not saved, but he says that. Yeah. I didn't save him, but that timing, whatever it was, like God's intervention on his behalf. There's been a docuseries and a documentary being made, right, about my life story and journey. And like, I'm like, oh no, we're all back here again. Mm-hmm. What are those people going to think? Or what is this person that I love and admire and look up to that supported me going to think? Or what is Chris going to think whenever I walked the Brooklyn Bridge with him 9 months after he almost jumped off of it? Mm-hmm. And I'm there with him, we're celebrating, and I'm looking him in the eyes. I'm saying, Chris, look at me, brother. Look at me, please. I've attempted suicide twice in my life. I've also gone to rehab. Look at me. You've got a brand new smile. You've gotten, it's worth $60,000 minimum, probably $100,000. Look, it's a gift. But brother, you're the gift. If you ever relapse, if you stumble, please be honest right away. Be honest before it. Be honest right away. Look at me. Look at me.
See, all the tools.
And I'm telling them, don't die. Mm-hmm. Don't die from this. I've lost too many people this year. Don't die from this.
Right.
Don't jump and don't let the drugs kill you. Look at me, please. I'm telling this. I don't know if it was on the camera. I'm like, we had a real heart to heart where I'm like, please, brother.
Yeah.
Don't die from this. And then I find myself back in the same hole and he's doing great.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really?
Yeah. Oh, I was too.
Really? Oh, yeah. But your really is strong and I value it so much. But my really was just like a kick in the groin. And then while I was down, a kick in the gut. And then while I'm trying to catch my breath, a kick in the face. And like, I can't continue this way. I won't. So that's a good thing. But I think that's why it was so hard was like, man, why am I back here? And of course, I'm an addict. I'm a drug addict.
Yeah, but that's what you got to figure out.
Yeah. Well, they say the standard answer is because it's my solution. And people are like, no, it's your problem. People like you looking from the outside in, it's your problem. But for me, it's my solution.
Yeah, it's your solution. So what is the problem?
Right. Right. So that's what I got to get to.
Good. And I'm glad.
And I'm looking forward to it. I think we've talked off camera. I think that I think that there's been something eating at me with like, I'll blanket it with saying either a close friend or a very close family member or something like that I've been avoiding quite a bit. And it's a really hard situation for me, at least. And also a lot of that stuff from childhood. And so, I'm just going to have to go in there and ask, is it distance? Is it closeness? Is it boundaries? What is it that can help me find peace with whatever decision I'm supposed to make instead of avoiding making that decision?
Yeah.
Because I got to make it. I got to either make it to continue or to cut off completely or to whatever. Like I got to figure that out.
Yep. You do.
Because before these relapses, like, that was eating at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a good thing we did this podcast because I haven't really framed it in a way that, this is one thing I absolutely need to take in there. And so that just kind of, maybe we mentioned it, but yeah, that's.
Well, I like framing it like that. Like this is my solution. So what is the problem? Like I can look at things of my own as that, like, here's how I'm coping.
Yes.
And so what am I coping with?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get to whatever that is. And those are uncomfortable places to be sometimes, usually, which is why we're finding solutions and coping.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
The thing I wanted to say, another thing is if someone's listening to this that does struggle with addiction, or maybe you love someone that's in it, or you lost someone, or maybe you're an employer and you don't know what to do whenever something like this happens. One of the things we are going to do with Fight for the Forgotten is like, we're setting up some policies, procedures where if this thing ever happens again, am I just completely out forever? Or is there a process? Is there something to do? But we're getting there. And this place will have those kinds of things to give us as tools and resources to protect me and to protect the organization, things like that. But I think one thing, let me just ask you the question and then I'll give you two perspectives. And it's something I've been wrestling with, trying to figure it out.
All right.
Do you believe in triggers?
Not really.
Not really. That's good. Tell me why.
I did a TikTok on this the other day, honey.
Okay, well, tell me. Sorry, I'm not
I
one
said
of
triggers.
your big fans on TikTok. I only post once.
I know. I said that triggers don't really exist. They are simply indicators of things that we really need to explore. Like those are the spaces where we either need healing or we just need to look more closely.
Yeah.
And those are the things. Because I've just noticed in my own life, if I even feel jealous of something or whatever it is, those are the spots that I need to explore more fully and understand why. It's more just a indicator showing me something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
But then again, I suppose there are people who have had legitimate, very traumatic experiences. And if they hear about something, it could trigger something for them. But then I don't know. Then they still need to work on that healing. So I don't know.
Yeah, me too. So you're not really, it's kind of faux pas to say you're in AA and stuff like that. You're supposed to be anonymous. But in those meetings that I've gone to and experienced and in the material that I've read, it basically says there aren't triggers, that that's just an excuse to use. That if you basically, they say the actual material, the big book says there are no triggers. It doesn't say there are no triggers. Let me say what it says. It says basically like, if you're blaming other people things, you're not taking ownership of it. Basically, you could move to Greenland. You could be on a snow cap, and then all of a sudden an Eskimo comes by on being pulled by dogs and sled dogs, and then he has a bottle of whiskey, and it's his fault that you relapsed. Mm-hmm. It's his fault that you drank again. And
it is placing blame outside yourself or placing something outside yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So I agree with that. And so I don't ever want to say a trigger, this kind of stuff. But then, Dr. Amon, I don't know if it was on the show or when I talked to him, he's like, man, there's some stuff like your brain scan shows it. I can show you the ring of fire. There's the PTSD. And so there's things from my past or whatever that it was a trigger. So what do I do? How do I cut that stuff? How do I cut that tie or heal and recognize it and have that awareness and all those things that, and I would like to ask him that question on triggers. So I'll do that next time I have a session with him where I'm like,
do it.
I want to know how to tame the hidden dragons and identify these quote unquote triggers. But the reason is because there's been people that I've seen in recovery that live very defeated lives. And I've tried to say, I'm not going to do that. And when I say defeated, what do I mean? They can't go to Thanksgiving with grandma because, and I don't mean to judge them. What I mean is it's not an empowered life. It's almost like a disempowered life.
Yeah, but now that's been a bit of your downfall with this.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm recognizing it. But I can't not go to Thanksgiving because grandma's going to have a glass of wine. I cannot not go to Christmas because Joe blew this or that, right? And so there's been these things like people going in and they're like, I can't go do this. I can't go to the grocery store. I can't go to
the grocery store because
they sell wine.
People don't go to the grocery store?
People in recovery will do the wildest things. Once they lose their solution, they take out the substance.
Wow.
Now all of a sudden they go way too far to the other side and they go, I have to fill up with gas outside. And man, sometimes I have to call somebody because it's right inside there. There's the beer.
Oh, it's like, just too tempting.
It's just too tempting because look, there's so many people that, and I'm really not judging them because I've been here. But there's been some people that have said,
don't judge because you'll learn a fucking lesson.
I know. But they come to the T, right? A crossroad. And they know they're supposed to go right on their way home after work, but left is to the liquor store. And they're telling themselves, turn right, turn right, turn right, turn right. And they're telling themselves, they're saying it, and all of a sudden the wheel starts going left.
I think you can identify with that.
Yes, I can identify with it. So I'm really not judging. I just want to live a free life. Does that make sense? I want to live free.
It's like that
empowered
analogy that I read you. I read you the analogy and
asking it is,
I have, and asking it is given from Abraham Hicks. And it's, they said,
the recipe.
They said you're in a kitchen with all the ingredients in the entire world.
Yes.
Some of them will not suit your recipe.
Yeah.
The pie that is your life. So you only choose, you have control to pick the ingredients that go into your pie.
What's crazy is
everything exists. You don't banish those other items from the kitchen. They are just there. And so it doesn't matter. They're there. That's okay. It doesn't even affect you.
Yeah.
You just make your pie.
Yeah. I think when you read me that, thinking back to it, and I was like, oh, wow. Whenever I'm using all these other substances, it's like these substances, it's like I'm putting a dish together with lime juice, pepper, and cinnamon. And I was like, that probably, won't turn out very good. And I think I just throw another recipes in there or whatever, but I'm just like, oh, what am I doing to myself? Stop it.
Yeah. Because those things are always going to exist.
Oh yeah.
So you have to just be able to live your life, not choosing it.
For sure.
Just what are you choosing?
Got to find true, real deal, tangible, practical, sustainable solution to this, or just help and love.
Or find out what the real problem was.
Right. Healing.
All along.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything we missed? Anything?
There's two sides of it.
Two sides of what?
Of what's been wrong all along. It's not just one thing. It won't be. There's two things. There's traumas, but there's also biology. There is an addict mind. You can see it on brain scans. They can study it. They can all that other stuff. So, man, it's kind of like you're playing Russian roulette the first time you don't know. Oh, if I go back, I don't know if I ever shared this story with you. If I go back to the first time I ever drank, I was an addict and alcoholic. First time. First time. It wasn't progressive. Sometimes it's progressive for other people, but for me, it was full blown. I thought I had 30 shots the first time I drank.
Wow.
But it was 15. The parents and other people at they filled a vodka bottle with water so I wouldn't die of alcohol poisoning. Right. So, at this party. And I waited until I won a national championship in wrestling. I didn't reward myself after a state championship, not after 10 of them, or after being All-American. I waited to a national champion. But then it was like, oh, it's time. It's time. And maybe I could go back to childhood and see what did I like that changed what did I like that changed the way that I felt? Well, it became food. That's why I was such a heavyset kid.
Mm-hmm.
It was food before it was substances. It was sugar. Anyways, I know your episodes are normally shorter, so I hope that people can hear that we have hope and that there's hope for them, no matter where they are, no matter where your friend is. And I know that I've been in a very hopeless state of mind, body with this disease of addiction, but I'm ready to break free from it. I'm ready to find the cure, and it's not a magic pill. Yeah. It's not. It's some deep work. That's what you're all about. Yeah. So I'm grateful that you're alongside me.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah. Alongside me is, an interesting term to use. Like sure. Who's alongside who? And, it's just
I know you wish me the best. Can you look at me?
Of course I do. Of course I do.
Look at me. I know that if this cycle doesn't stop, that this will stop.
Yeah.
But I know that you hope and wish, and you've always done the best for me. And so I'm really grateful.
I'm doing the best for me.
I know you do the best for you, but in you being able to do the best for you, you've always done the best for me. That's been the byproduct.
Good.
And I'm grateful to be a recipient of that. And so my goal is to get better so that this doesn't stop forever. Right?
Right. Right.
Right. I love you.
I love you too. Anything we missed?
I'm going to miss you.
I'm going to miss you too. But I need this time.
Oh, of course. And you're going to have it. And even when I get out, whatever you need.
I hope that anybody listening, whatever part you're in on something like this, just honor what you need. Yeah. And that's been a real road for me. And that's been very challenging in the last couple of weeks. So I am excited to really honor myself and be able to do that while you're doing that too. Because the path to healing, means that we are whole in ourselves. Like the math thing that you were talking about.
Yeah, maybe we can end there.
Yeah. What was that? You started to tell me and I said, wait, save it.
The math. I think me coming into the relationship, I've been, especially in addiction, I'm half or a fraction of who I'm supposed to be. Right. And I think oftentimes in codependent relationships, people bring half of themselves hoping that the other is their better half or that will complete them. That two people come together will be one.
People are looking for someone else and then not feeling whole within themselves.
Right.
Like, I need this.
Two people coming together is an addition. It's multiplication. And so if you think 0.5 times 0.5, it's not 1. It's actually even less. It's 0.25.
Okay. So two people coming together is not addition. It's multiplication. Why?
Because if you come together half and you bring all that toxic stuff, you haven't done your self-work, your deep work, then you are going to expect the other person. Yeah, it's expanding. We're multiplying.
Ooh, the half is expanding.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, I like that. It's not expanding to get more. It's expanding to get bigger as just a non-whole.
You love black holes and all that science stuff. But I really think that I'm going there to get whole so I can bring all of me to this relationship, not half of me expecting you to fulfill the other half. That gaping hole or whatever it is, like that's not your job. That's my job to heal that.
Yeah.
And so anyways,
And mine too.
the thing that I see in you is that you are more whole and complete than I am. And so I'm trying to catch up and get better and just do it for me. But I want to bring all of me so that it can be that 1 × 1 = 1,
yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah. So we can stay complete and not be less than.
Yeah.
Because whenever you're in those toxic cycles and I bring those to you and they dim your shine.
Don't dull my sparkle, asshole.
Yeah.
I'm not calling you a name.
I know you're not. You've never called me a name.
Nope, I haven't.
You never say things you can't take back.
No, I don't.
I adore that about you.
That's a good thing. You don't do it either.
Thanks.
And that's good. And so I think that we can leave this and say, like, communication with everybody in your life. Be upfront. We told the kids the truth. And, we worked on communicating with ourselves and with them as upfront as we could. And I just want to encourage people to be honest, because even as hard as it is with what you're saying about all the stuff, you were very public facing with your story. And now you have to go back on that a little bit and backtrack and say, oh, here I am. Yep. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, at the end of the day, people don't really care. They're worried about themselves.
Yeah.
And so, you just
feel like you're going to wear people out.
Yeah. Yeah. And you put a lot of pressure on yourself and all that, but
hopeless to hopeful, back to hopeless. We'll get back to hopeful.
Yeah. But you know what? I don't think being honest and true and caring wears people out. I really don't.
Well, that's good then.
I really don't.
It never wears me out when you do it. It inspires me.
Good.
It encourages me.
Yeah, it is inspiring. It is inspiring. So just takes daily work. I want to share that one thing. When that Friday morning that I was angry, before I got angry, you said, I know I need to snap out of it. And I said to you, do you remember this?
Tell me.
You said, I need to snap out of this. And I said, this isn't something that you snap out of. Nobody does.
Yeah.
It takes daily grind of work.
Yeah.
And everybody's doing it. You don't just have a magic pill. You don't just snap out of it. You have to do daily work. You have to check in every single day.
Yeah.
You have to take stock of things every day. You have to build habits that serve you. Because I read a quote yesterday that said, we don't rise to our goals, we fall to our systems. And you do. So if you don't have good systems that you're building every day, well, then there you are. So anyway, I told you don't snap out of it. And we're all just here grinding away, trying to do it. And so for anyone to think that you just magically snap out of it, you don't.
It's crazy.
And that is why we're here on this show, building these habits and doing this.
Yeah. It can be kind of delusional to think you just snap out of it. So can I tell you something?
It would be nice.
It would be nice. It'd be great. But
and it's a phrase. Snap out of it as if it's a thing.
You're so smart. You're so smart. You have such a good heart.
Keep talking.
You got such a good heart. And I think it's hot.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's hot how smart you are and you're compassionate, sweetheart.
Well, thank you.
Your heart's hot. Your heart hot.
I'm glad you think so, because you don't see me all the time like this. You saw me this morning with a pimple on my face and no makeup, and
I've never
seen
you just incredibly beautiful and so badass.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too. And thanks for doing this today. I'm glad we talked about it. And I want to encourage people to go on your show, listen to the Overcome podcast, because you've got some weeks of your solo cast that tells more about this relapse and what you're doing. And then you've got the Dr. Amen episode. Yeah. You've got some cool stuff going on. Brigham Bueller and your sponsor, Jeff Meadows. And that's a 2-part episode. And then I will be guest hosting one.
It's part of mine.
Which I don't know what will run on that one. Maybe this. So,
wow.
Really maybe good. So I think that might be more appropriate with everything that's going on. So, anyway, I would just encourage people to go check out Overcome, because it's still going to be bringing inspiring stuff.
It will be. And I'm grateful, very, very, very grateful that there will be stuff coming out. I mean, for Hot Pie to have our back. Thank you, Hot Pie. We're in the studio right now.
Big time.
For you to have my back for.
And they were
Brigham
understanding to me.
Oh, Drew Satsung, who was a guest on my show, guest on your show.
Yeah.
He's taking a show that I did with him on his show, and he's going to do
Aaron
the
Alexander
intro. Aaron Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to do an intro that's very heartfelt about, who they know me to be, but what they've seen.
Yeah.
What they've seen. And Drew's going to talk about how I had to call him. I had to call him because I didn't want to call you.
Right.
And you were doing a podcast. I didn't want to be a burden to that. And I had to own it. And so I called Brigham first. Then I called Drew Satsung, Drew McManus. And he FaceTimed me right away after texting him from the Grand Canyon with a cowboy hat on hiking.
Yeah.
And said, go get that stash. Go get that shit. Let's flush it. Because I didn't want it in the house. I had it outside the house. It dawned on me. I got to get rid of it.
Yeah. You were smart to call him, not me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's the right thing. No, it's okay. It's okay. You made the right call. I mean, I still could have handled it, but it was a lot for me at that point.
Yeah.
So
Well, it was a lot when I told you about it.
yeah, it really was. It was. It took me a full 24 hours. So anyway, well, thank you. Thanks for coming on today. I love you too. Love
Thanks,
you too.
babe.
Hey, don't forget to send your Overcome stories to overcomepodcast@gmail.com. And also rate, review, subscribe, and follow Overcome with Justin Wren.